I've been watching these bowl games, and from Texas A&M to Oklahoma, what if the SEC isn't actually that good at college football? This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12, and the Drake Toll Show every morning on Westwood One. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. The SEC. Turns out they may not be that good at college football. They've been bad in the bowl season, and I've told you this already, that I'll say it again in this segment with TJ Pittenger. LSU had 50-plus players that are 4 and 5 stars playing against Houston's 6, and they still lost. Well, we all opted out. No, you had a lot of blue chips out there that are supposedly better on paper than Houston, but you lost. There are further ways that we can expose the SEC. We're going to do so today. Then Texas Tech will beat Oregon by 10. It's not a disrespect thing. It's not like, I hate Oregon. I can back that up. There are ways to back it up. I'll give you all the proof of why that is going to happen. And then BYU and Texas Tech, Kansas as well, are in the running to sign an NBA player to play college basketball this season. Is that right or rigged? This is Locked On Big 12. And if you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. TJ Pittenger, college football addiction. TJ, let's give it to him.
The Big 12, I think at the time we're recording this 2-0 in bowl season, so haven't played a ton of games. Is that right? A conference that's not having a great bowl season, though. The other end of this spectrum is one that I know it hurts your heart to have to talk about. Take it away.
Yeah, the SEC, TJ, it just means more bowl losses. It just means more opt-outs. And somehow it just means more excuses. Now, look, I grew up an Arkansas Razorbacks fan. I've got Arkansas stuff sitting on the desk behind me. I grew up an SEC homer, and it wasn't until I left that fandom, went to Baylor University to get a good education, that I looked around and thought, this propaganda, this Kool-Aid that I've been drinking isn't exactly what it was all cracked up to be. And then you watch the bowl games, whether it's Missouri losing to Virginia. If I ask most SEC fans, like, hey, is there any chance that Missouri loses to Virginia? They go, Virginia? They don't even know Virginia has a football team, and Mizzou just lost to them as an 8-win team out of the SEC. On top of that, TJ, what I also love about this bowl season is the Big 12 beating up on the SEC. And what you'll hear is, LSU had a bunch of opt-outs. It wasn't even a game because LSU didn't want to be there. TJ, here's some numbers for you. LSU has 66 players of 4 or 5 stars. Let's say that their top 10, 12 players opted out, because they did. I'll give you that. They're down to what? We'll say 50. Clean number. 50 players that are 4 or 5 stars. That's half the roster. That's a lot of blue chip guys still playing out there and playing hard because they want a spot on next year's team or a spot somewhere else in the portal. Houston, TJ, 6 4 or 5 star players on the field. And they spotted LSU 14 points on a kickoff return, and that it's always those scripted drives that get you. Scripted drive, kickoff return. After that, it was all Houston. Held the Tigers to 14 points the final 50 minutes of this game. 38-14 run to close this out. Scored 38 points. That is more than Alabama was able to score on LSU. Houston, without the same blue chip players, and with a team that everybody's like, I don't know. It's the SEC versus the Big 12. I'm pretty sure the SEC's better. They want to make excuses, TJ, but I just gave you the numbers. LSU on paper should still have been 45 players better than Houston when it talks blue chip recruits, better athletes, but they lost the game straight up on a neutral site with a whole lot of LSU fans there, and they looked dismal from the second quarter on. That made a statement, and it didn't even need to make a statement when you consider that one of the 2 wins that the SEC has gotten this bowl season was them beating themselves, Alabama over Oklahoma. And you also have that putrid 10-3 game, a Miami team that lost to Louisville, and SMU went on the road to beat Texas A&M and force them to 3 points. I'm just saying, I do believe the SEC is good. The same conference that hasn't had a national championship contender the last 2 years, a team in the title. But they're not what the TV tells you they are. They're not what the propaganda says. The SEC bias has officially gone too far, and we're seeing it in real time.
Yeah, what's interesting is when we get to bowl season, and I will agree that there is some aspect of how much these games truly matter. Man, those guys start with a whistle sounds. This is not the Pro Bowl. Like, this is not, it's not the NBA All-Star game. Like, there's effort. And, like, did you see, I mean, of course you did. Did you see the guy from the name's escaping me, the guy hurdling and the effort on the touchdown on Bachmeier's 2-point conversion? I know that wasn't against the SEC team, but you're telling me there's not effort? Like, these guys care, right? And now, in a situation like Florida State had a couple of years ago where 30 guys opted out and it was all their starters on both sides and they were playing a Georgia team.
Right? That was a statement. More so than a mismatch, yeah.
I don't. So all that said, like, yeah, there are some situations where the team really didn't care to be there. Most of them, these kids care. Because they're playing. It's fun. Bowl games are like, I don't want to say there's so much meaning. Like, oh, you lose the bowl game, your whole next season's wrecked, or it made your season a disaster. Or no, I'm not trying to put that, but like the kids care when they're playing. And so it is funny when you get to just the convenient narrative of bowl season is always hilarious to me, because if you win, it's a statement and it shows, like, if you're a Houston fan right now, tune in watching this. And you're a BYU fan, whatever. It's a statement about how, but if you lose it, oh, well, we were missing these guys. It doesn't matter for next year. You got the portal opening in a week. The SEC does that better than anybody. And everybody does it to some degree. Like, I'll be fair to them. Everyone does it. But the SEC does it at a different level. And also this, I don't know if you watched you were probably more watching the Houston LSU game. Hopefully you didn't see the Missouri-Virginia game, because you thought the A&M Miami game was ugly. Now, there were a few more points scored in that Missouri-Virginia game at very late, like
a few points. Just a few, which is saying not much.
It was so bad, the Missouri social media tweeted out the wrong score for their graphic at the end of the game. They tweeted out the final score was 14-7. It was 13-7. Their own fans were like, no wonder we lost this game. We can't even put the right score out. Absolutely tragic. Virginia gets the win. Obviously, my narrative continues to go on, but it's pretty funny to watch it.
13-7. The mighty SEC. Well, the starting quarterback was Bo Prabula. It was Bo Prabula. Bo Prabula didn't play half the season. The kid that played for quarterback from Missouri has been beating up on the SEC. Like, he's the one that's been winning the games for Missouri for half the year. And Bo Prabula is back in the transfer portal, by the way, which I also find funny. TJ, Virginia just lost to Duke. And I know transitive property doesn't work in college football, because if it did, then Stanford would be better than Alabama, and Stanford's not better than Alabama. I know that transitive property doesn't work. But I know Virginia's not elite. I know they're not. And I know that Louisville and SMU aren't elite. They both beat Miami, and A&M couldn't muster more than a field goal, 3 points against them.
Well, and here's the thing. That Missouri team is somebody that Bama got a lot of credit for beating earlier this year.
Oh, yeah.
When Bama went on the road and beat that Missouri team, that's somebody that they got a lot of credit for beating. Now, I will, listen, let me give, wasn't supposed to be a Missouri bash. It was an SEC bash. But,
sorry, Missouri.
I understand a starting quarterback being gone. But, man, when these are the teams that you are hyping as big wins, that's a problem later on, man. Like that creates a situation where, man, maybe us just beating up on each other doesn't make us all elite. It just makes us like every other conference. Did you know, Drake? Now, maybe grab your shorts, because they might fall off when I tell you this. Every single conference went 500 against itself this year. Like every single conference.
No. The SEC had to be better than that. The SEC had to be better than that.
When you play a game, there is one winner and one loser. There are no ties anymore in college football. So every single conference went 500 against each other. But the 500 down here in the Southeast, where I live, that 500 meant a whole lot more, no pun intended, than every other 500 record that happened. And you get credit for beating teams that score 7 in a bowl game, score 3 in a college football playoff game at home. Like Missouri at least went on the road and played a neutral site. 3 points at home against Miami. So, and I'm not even being a Miami hater by saying that. I think they're a good team. But like, TJ, it's so funny to me.
to close it out, 16 of the top 20 teams preseason in strength of schedule were from the SEC. Missouri's was the lowest strength of schedule in the whole conference, and they still were number 20 in the country. So when those 20 teams, then those top 16 of those 20 teams play each other, their strength of schedule doesn't change. It gets better. It gets better because they're beating each other, and somehow they're winning by beating each other. It doesn't make any sense. I think it's a broken system. Hello, friends. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is exactly where I go. Nothing like college football season. Tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that's the part's kind of hard, actually. Long queues, logins, prices jumping at checkout. So I open Game Time, and I save big. The app is incredibly easy to use. I go from browsing tickets to buying them in just minutes. I love being able to see the view from my seat before buying. I know exactly what I'm getting. The zone deals stand out. Pick the section. Game Time picks the seats. You save even more. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that code is locked on college for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Download Game Time today.
Not that they need a lot of help, but Texas Tech and BYU could get some strange help in a way that I don't think we'd ever imagined. Not on the gridiron, but maybe on the hardwood.
The NBA players are coming to college again. There will be people. Tom Izzo was a pretty prevalent commenter on this, saying that, BYU, Baylor, Texas Tech, Kansas, if these schools are doing that, I'll call Scott Durrell, make sure it's not going to, I'll make sure I fix this. We are talking about college coaches that look at the rules and they say, you, the NCAA, have built this rule book that says we can have these players who are no longer amateurs come participate in our program. So if it's legal in the rule books, we're going to do it. Chicago Bulls two-way player Trenton Flowers, this is from On3, is drawing interest from many college programs. A source told On3, Florida, Kentucky, BYU, Texas Tech, Kansas, Clemson, and more are all in there. He was a top 25 recruit in 2023, so still young. He's 20 years old, and played a couple weeks ago in an NBA game. I agree with the sentiment that this is wrong. Now, there is the pushback that European players who play in the Pro League in Europe come over all the time to the United States. It's never been an issue, and now all of a sudden it's a problem when BYU and Texas Tech want to do it. I agree that is messed up, and there's a way to fix this, and we should have rules for this, but it needs to be cohesive across the board. But let me be very clear. Somebody posts on Twitter and says, at this point, if you're a coach or a school going after these players, I'm definitely judging. When you know something's wrong and you still look to do it yourself, says a lot. Let me take you back to, allegedly, a Cadillac that pulls up next to Cam Newton with a McDonald's bag that has $100,000 in it, right? When we're talking about things that are legal or illegal in college football or college basketball, schools have been bending the rules for decades to ensure that they can win. TJ, I heard a hilarious story. This was unbelievable. I was with Archie Manning a couple months ago, and he's sitting down with Coach Vaught, the namesake of Vaught Hemingway Stadium at Ole Miss. They meet with the GM of the Saints, who are about to draft Archie Manning. And the Saints say, hey, when we draft you, here's the dollar offer we're going to put on the table. And Coach Vaught looks the GM in the eyes and says, Archie was making more than that at Ole Miss. And that is the perfect epitome of what college athletics has been. But now that it's legal, now that you can do it, now that the rules say you can do it, whether I agree or disagree with the rules, either BYU and Texas Tech do it, or Duke's going to do it, or Alabama, or Arkansas with John Calipari, or Florida, or UConn. If the Big 12 schools don't start doing it, somebody else is going to. And as long as that rule says that I can, I will.
I'd like to see it not happen, but like you just said, if it's going to start happening, you have to take advantage of every opportunity that you can.
Can I ask you too? What do we do with the European players? Because they start going pro at like 16 now, and they go play.
The loophole that allows it.
Yeah, that's never been a problem. It's always been, Purdue can have 7 guys named Kursmavatov, and they'll be 8 feet tall, and they played pro ball for 3 years in Czechoslovakia. It doesn't exist anymore. Czech Republic. Do we ban that? Is it banned across the board? You can't play pro?
No, I think once the toothpaste is out of the tube, right, to use an old Sunday school analogy, I don't see that ever, you can't put the cat back in the box, man. Like once it's out, you've opened it, and that's the way that things are. I, again, don't love this just in general, but at the same time, you're not going to win many lawsuits. There's no real reason that college athletics are under this, amateurism umbrella. There's no real reason that still exists. I mean, there is, but like you're seeing with the Diego Pavias of the world and the people that continue to just go and get more and more and more eligibility, eventually they're even challenging the whole 4 and 5 years of eligibility, because why does that 4 and 5 year eligibility rule exists? Well, it made sense because guys needed time to develop, get their degree, and then go off to the NFL or pro leagues or start their careers, right? And it lined up with a timeline for a degree. A lot of these kids don't care about degrees at this point, and I'm not saying all of them, but just in college athletics, they don't care about degrees. They're going to jump school to school. Who knows what credits are transferring? They're going school to school to school, whoever offers the biggest paycheck, and that's where they're going to play a lot of times. And kids don't, what is tying kids to this theoretical number of you can only play college athletics for 4 years? Because let's call college athletics what it is now. It's a minor league system for the pro leagues. Like that's just all it is. And it's a paid minor league system. It's a very well paid minor league system. If you look at the difference between the G League or minor league baseball or what is the hockey one? I don't know.
ECHL, the AHL. Come on. Go
down a level just everywhere. It's a very well-paid minor league, but it's a minor league. And so you can go play Major League Baseballs, or you can play minor league baseball for your entire career. Why can't you play college baseball for 20 years? Eventually all that stuff will get challenged, and they will have to just put, rules about it, make them feeder leagues into the main leagues. But yeah, again, somebody's going to do this. Might as well be the teams that you cheer for.
You just said it. I don't even know if you just spewed gold right there. I'm not sure.
Wow, a lot of word salad, so who knows?
You could play G League, you could play minor league, you could play ECHL, AHL, whatever. You start naming these leagues, these feeder leagues, and make pennies on the dollar compared to what kids make in NIL today. Like we're talking about a guy who played the NBA a few weeks ago. He can go to college basketball and be a multi-millionaire based off his contract. Doesn't have to go like, oh yeah, we go to the NFL, go to college basketball. You're a late round draft pick and you get a rookie contract that you're just not that lucrative, but good luck, have fun. Wait till your first big boy contract to really make money. Or in college basketball, make money today. 20 years old, 21 years old, make more money in college basketball because the NIL system is broken, because the portal is broken. That's where this starts. It opens that door for, well, wait, I can make a whole lot more money with way less regulation by being in college basketball. Mm-hmm. Why don't I just go back to play college basketball? That's what we're seeing now. And again, TJ, the system is certainly broken. Everybody agrees on that. But the second we go to challenge it, someone's going to say, well, you let, there's the like almost Sherman antitrust. If he can do it, then I have to be able to do it. Otherwise, he's monopolized this. So now we're all, well, he got to play pro ball in Europe, and then he got to come play here. So you can't make pro ball in Europe illegal anymore to play NCAA athletics because it's not fair. There's that fair. Or if you do, you got to back pay 1 billion people $1 million because they sued you. This is just a situation that I don't have the answers. A situation I don't have the dollars for. That's what it is. If I had all the money in the world, I could fix it.
Because even the people with the dollars don't have the answers. They just make it up as they go along, and Correct. They get richer while we continue to talk about it.
100%.
Do you have any thoughts on, how does this kid end up playing for a college? Or
look, BYU just signed one of these guys. Baylor and BYU both signed G League guys a few weeks ago that are in the fold now and playing college basketball. So I think that they set the precedent. BYU's kind of set a precedent for these players being welcome in their program. Kevin Young, one of the great NBA assistants as well. I'd be surprised if he doesn't use that sway to bring this guy in and get flowers in the fold.
I like it. Drake, where can people follow you? Where they can find your content?
Yeah, at Locked On Big 12, wherever you find your podcast, at Drake C. Toll on Twitter, and The Drake Toll Show on Westwood One, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on YouTube or the Westwood One app every single morning with their radio station.
Appreciate you, bud.
Always fun, TJ. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is exactly where I go during the NBA season on my Fridays. Yes, that's right. My Fridays for happy hour. NBA happy hour is awesome. It's the official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with my NBA happy hour. Open the FanDuel app during holiday happy hour and bring something new. Boosts, bonuses, surprises. So before tip off, check the FanDuel app. See what's dropping during NBA happy hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. NBA happy hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. It's FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app and do it today.
Drake, hope you had a good Christmas. We've got a college football playoff game for the Big 12 this week.
Yeah, it was an awesome holiday, TJ, and seeing Houston beat up on LSU and BYU come back against Georgia Tech was even better. I think the Big 12 is in a great spot right now and will be in an even better spot when Texas Tech wins by 10.
Cut to the chase, huh? Like get on with the prediction. All right, so How do they do that? Oregon and Texas Tech. I very much think, and I'm a huge BYU fan for what they've done this year. I do think that Oregon might be Texas Tech's biggest challenge, and I think Texas Tech is going to be Oregon's biggest challenge this year. So when you kind of have that, well, minus the Indiana game, I will give Indiana I will give them their fair praise there. But this is pretty similar to that in the fact that both these teams run into stiff competition. So how does Texas Tech end up shutting down really that elite passing attack that Oregon's got, a good quarterback in Dante Moore, a good run defense? Just what does Texas Tech do?
Yeah, I want to give Oregon their flowers first and foremost. This is a very, very good Oregon team. I don't want to dilute that. I believe that they will give Texas Tech, like you said, the best challenge of the season. Problem is, no one's really given Texas Tech a challenge. Outside of their one loss to Arizona State where they were missing their starting quarterback, Tech has been a juggernaut, and they've beaten every team they've played handedly, and we have not seen them struggle really at all, especially in the second half. Now, you could argue the Kansas State game for 2 quarters or both BYU games early on that they were not in rhythm, but once they catch fire, especially defensively, Texas Tech will turn you over, and there is not a team in the country that I think outmatches them substantially, even Oregon. Now, the way that Texas Tech is going to do this, I had a long conversation with Coach Gary Patterson, the TCU legend, this week about how Texas Tech could possibly beat Oregon. And he said, possibly. They'll do it because they are so similar to Indiana. They will bully you with the defense. The offense isn't exactly elite, but that defense, especially the defensive line, can punish you. And what Indiana did against Oregon, he watched the film multiple times. He said, Indiana didn't go out there and throw the kitchen sink, do some exotic blitzes. Indiana just said, our guys are bigger and better than you. We're going to go showcase that. The Oregon offense is good, no doubt. But listen to this, TJ. The Oregon O, they're 23rd throwing the football, 23rd running the football. Again, very good. Texas Tech, number 5 against the pass, number 5 against the rush. This is EPA, efficiency metrics in college football. Let's also analyze on early downs. Texas Tech is number 1 in efficiency. On 3rd and 4th down, number 12 in efficiency. For Oregon, they're number 13 on early downs. Very good, but that's not number 1. And on 3rd and 4th down, they're 39th in the country. Texas Tech's defense stands tall on late downs. They'll do it again against Oregon. The analytics do not favor the Ducks really at all. They give Texas Tech a massive edge when you consider how good the Red Raiders defense is.
Speaking on that defense, to me, Oregon does like to run the ball very effectively, and they've got some freaks out on the outside who do a really good job. And so to me, that is, I think both sides of this could very much benefit Texas Tech. If it's high scoring, I do like their offense to keep up. That might favor Oregon a little bit more. Like if we're talking like high scoring, like high 30s into the 40s. If it's low scoring, I like Tech because I do like their defense a lot. Again, I think Oregon's got a good defense. This is not anti-Oregon propaganda. I think both teams are really good. And until you see them kind of match up with their toughest test, save that Indiana game, then I think we'll find out then. Are you more worried about Oregon's run game or more worried about their pass game?
I am more worried about Oregon's run game for sure. Dante Moore is a good quarterback. Texas Tech will turn him over. That is something that I can almost guarantee in this game. He'll be loose enough that Tech will force him into interceptions. Oregon has not had a specifically hard schedule. 8 interceptions for Dante Moore based on the talent they played is kind of surprising to me. Out of conference, they did not meet an opponent that I thought would really rattle them, and that was the case. Oregon State, Montana State, and Oklahoma State, maybe the worst of those 3 teams. We saw Oregon slow start against Northwestern. They took overtime, double overtime, to beat a Penn State team that we learned is only good enough to win 7 games this season. Rutgers, Wisconsin, they struggled with Wisconsin, their offense specifically. Iowa, 18 points against an Iowa team that's defense is not as good as what Texas Tech is going to throw at you. Washington, an unranked Washington team. I just don't see a team on this schedule outside of Indiana, who Oregon lost to by 10, that has the chops of Texas Tech defensively. And so that's where I think offensively for Oregon, it'll look very similar to that Indiana game, where a couple of these games, like Wisconsin or like Iowa, where they struggled to score 3 touchdowns or more. Let's also note this. As good as the Oregon run game is, it's also kind of run game by committee. They're going to throw out a couple of guys at you. For Texas Tech, they're okay with that. They've seen plenty of those in the Big 12. For the last 2 seasons, you've seen the contenders in the Big 12 use 1 or 2 running backs. A great example of that, the guys they're facing in practice every week. Texas Tech is a 2-headed monster. Jacoby Williams, Cameron Dickey at running back. They're going to give the Oregon offense, as good as its run game is, the exact same thing right back at the Ducks when the Ducks come out on defense.
I don't know how much we've talked about Jacob Rodriguez since the Heisman, but finished top 5 in Heisman voting. Didn't get the trip to New York because why would you do something fun if you were, putting one of these awards on? But finishes top 5 in the Heisman. Should have been higher in my opinion. But again, my opinion is worth not a whole lot unless it's here. Just thoughts on. So anyway, I said that to say you can't use him. Give me an X factor on defense that's not him, because that's cheating.
Yeah, I won't use David Bailey either. And David Bailey has been such a big name for Texas Tech this season. What he's done on the defensive line instead, and he's got 13.5 sacks. TJ, we're talking about a guy who is wreaking havoc on opposing teams. 13.5 sacks for David Bailey this season. But it's Romello Height, because the second you decide to focus on David Bailey, Texas Tech says, we have multiple David Baileys out here, and we can do pretty much whatever we want to do to manhandle you from the defensive line standpoint. And they're not even fully healthy on that facet of the game. I think Romello Height comes into this game. I also believe that Ben Roberts, who had a pick 6 against BYU and was a stalwart at linebacker, will have a great game against Oregon. But listen to that name, Romello Height. Put it in your psyche. Oregon fans are going to hear it a lot this weekend. TJ, 18 tackles this season. You're like, okay, 18 tackles is not very good. 9 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. If he's bringing you down, he's bringing you down in the backfield. The Dublin, Georgia kid is a dog. I think that Romello Height he had 2.5 sacks last season, transfers into Tech, has been a monster this year, and doesn't get enough praise because everyone's talking Jacob Rodriguez or David Bailey.
It would not surprise me if the quarterback that plays this game a little bit cleaner ends up being the one that wins and goes on to the semifinal. I think that's a lot of times how college football works, is the quarterback that takes care of the ball a little bit better is usually the one to come out on top. So quarterbacks aside, Oregon also has a pretty good run defense, and teams have not been able to necessarily run all over them. Now, again, you mentioned the good defenses they've played. How many are there? Well, Indiana's there, Iowa, okay, and that's about it, right? Kind of same thing, we look at Texas Tech. Yeah, how many elite defenses do they play? I think you could maybe look at the same thing. BYU, really good, Utah. But how well do you think Texas Tech will be able to run the ball against a pretty good front?
I do believe that Tech will actually have more success running the football than they will throwing the football. So it's interesting. As good as Oregon looks on tape when they are stopping the run, it's one of their deficiencies. They're still very good, 31st in the country in EPA stopping the run. They're actually a better passing defense efficiency-wise than you would expect. I think Tech will have good success running the football because Cameron Dickey is just that good. He's arguably the best running back in the Big 12. And then the downs that Dickey can't run it, what do? You throw out Jacoby Williams, who is almost as good, and then you gain 3 yards, 4 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards. And Baron Morton, that's when he's at his best, is taking the top off, throwing the deep ball, feeling comfortable because the run game is there. That's what Texas Tech will do. They don't need the run game to be elite. They need 3 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry, 2 runs of 20-plus yards, and then Baron Morton to do the rest. And that's what will happen. It's how it happened in the game against BYU. It's how it happened in the game against Utah. They wear you down in the third and fourth quarter. They throw and they run for chunk plays. That's the difference in the game. They break your spirit those last 30 minutes. It's what Texas Tech will do here.
Drake, you gave me that Texas Tech was going to win this thing by 10. What is the actual score going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to go 27-17. Texas Tech beats Oregon, holds them under 20 points. The same Oregon team that allowed 34 to James Madison will allow less to Texas Tech, but the Red Raiders muck up the game, slow it down, and this whole, Oregon's way too fast. Nah, I don't think so. Texas Tech also has a lot of speed with their strength. Tech wins it by double digits.
Quickly, who wins the other 3 games? I know they're not. I'm going to put you on the spot real quick.
I do think Indiana beats Alabama. I'm very excited to watch that game. I think Indiana is arguably the best team in the country right now, not named Texas Tech, and they still don't get the same flowers that I think Georgia is getting right now if you turn on your TV. I'm going to go with Indiana over Alabama. Texas Tech beats Oregon in their playoff matchup. And don't call it crazy if Ole Miss beats Georgia, but call it wild. Georgia's going to win in the All-State Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss. I think that is that's chalked up as a formality. Then Miami, Ohio State. I actually have Miami in the upset. TJ, the ACC, that elusive ACC. Love what their D-line does. They held A&M to 3 points on the road. They're playing, clicking on all cylinders, and they shut down the Ohio State offense, and Miami wins the game.
So that's your only upset. Well, I guess Texas Tech is technically an upset.
Yeah, like 2.5 points.
Not really, but like 3 points in Vegas. So, okay, cool. We will continue to cover this as well as all the top Big 12 stories. Make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Big 12 as well as College Football Addiction. Drake, thanks for hanging out.
Always, TJ.